Wondering how to use your Eufy S2 Pro wearable breast pump? Stick around. In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step everything you need to know about using your Eufy S2 pump, from assembly to settings to cleaning, as well as my tips and tricks for making the most out of your pump. All right, so let's get started and take a quick look at the different components and how they are assembled. So one of the things I really like about the Eufy pumps is there are actually very minimal parts to them. Really makes cleaning a lot easier, as well as assembly and maintenance. So let's start with your pump motor. You have on the top here a control panel. These are your massage pads. Behind here in the flange, you have your heating element. Now this is a 360-degree heating pad, so you'll notice that it heats all the way round. You then have your flange. This is a 24mm. I'll go through the importance about this shortly. You have your diaphragm lid. You have your collection cup. This is a 5-ounce capacity. You have your collection cup lid, and then you have your duckbill valve. So how does this all go back together? Firstly, we're going to take the collection cup lid and attach the duckbill valve. Now this little guy here, its job is to take the milk from the flange tunnel as you're pumping and push it into the collection cup. So this sits at the base on the back of your collection cup lid. I like to align it so it is nice and flat and in line. Make sure it is on nice and firm. Then we're going to take the lid and attach it to the collection cup. Now you'll see here there's a little cutout. This aligns with this section here. So first we're just going to want to line it up and then push it in nice and securely. Super important to make sure that all our seals are nice and secure. Any gaps can lead to air leaks and loss of suction or milk leaks. So having these nice and secure in place is really important. Then we're going to attach the cap to the pouring spout. This just needs to fit in and then you'll feel it plug in. Again, just check that it's nice and flat and in secure. Then we're going to take our diaphragm. There's only one way for this to go in. We push that in and then push nice and firmly with the cap. Once that's all in place, we can attach it to our pump motor. There is only one way for this to go on. You're going to want to make sure that these massage panels are facing out, and on the back we can attach the completed collection container. This simply clicks into place. You'll hear an audible click. Then we take our flange and we want to attach it. Again, there is only one way for this to go. You'll notice that nothing aligns if you try putting it on the wrong way. We're simply going to push that in, line up the massage panels, and then click it into place. There's magnetics that will help click this in and keep it nice and firm. Now, I spoke quickly about the importance, or I was going to tell you about the importance of the flange sizing. And I feel like this is a good spot right at the start, because before we get into any pumping, we want to make sure that we first have the correct flange size for our nipple. Now this is super important, because if it's too big or too small, it's really going to impact your pumping, not just your output, but it can potentially cause pain and damage to your nipple. So you'll find that this is a standard 24mm. In your pumping kit, you should have a range of flange inserts. Now these are from a 15mm up to a 21mm, and their job is to reduce this flange tunnel to the size of your flange insert. Now, how do we know what is the correct flange sizing for us? Again, in your kit, you'll get a nipple measuring card. And we're simply going to place this over our nipple until we get to the base of our nipple. So all the way down till we get the base of our nipple. Make sure your nipple is stimulated. Imagine my finger is the nipple. All the way down to the base. So we are looking for just to the base. We don't want to see a huge area of your areola. We want it so your nipple essentially can move nice and freely in the flange tunnel without drawing too much of your areola in. So too much areola showing is going to draw your areola into the flange tunnel. So for me, if my finger was my nipple, I'd be going for a 24 millimeter. It goes all the way down to the base. Nipple can move freely. So I don't need to use a flange insert with this because it's already a 24 millimeter. But let's say that I'm only a 21 millimeter. That's where I can get my flange insert. You'll see the sizing written on the edge. And we simply take that and place it into the flange tunnel and push down nice and firm so it sits nice and flat. And now our flange tunnel has gone from 24 millimeters down to the 21. Highly recommend that you do not skip this step, and then make sure that you are regularly checking your flange size throughout your postpartum journey. Generally speaking, the further you get into postpartum, the smaller your nipple size will get. All right, so that all sorted. Let's take a look at the different settings. Now the pump can be used by itself or with the app. I will go through the app shortly because that's a little bit more complex. But let's take a look first at what options we have on pump. First, you have your power button. So hold that in for 3 seconds. Now this should retain the previous settings that you had. You may have just noticed this flashing. So when we are wanting to change our settings, can be a little bit tricky, I won't lie, with getting them to activate on the pump itself. So I'll show you what I mean. First, you have on the left-hand side your massage button. So you can turn this on or off. And while this is flashing, you can adjust the levels up. There are 3 different massage levels. When that stops flashing, then your pump will go into its normal pumping mode. If I start pressing the plus and minus, so changing those levels, that now is actually flashing with my mode to change my suction levels. So if you're wanting to adjust your massage or your heating levels, make sure that it is that little icon that is flashing with the LV, which is standard for level. So we then have heating. So if we press that, that's flashing. If we want to change that up, we can, or down. Now there are 7 different levels. They are, I think, goes up to 42 degrees Celsius heating, and you can choose which one best suits your needs. Now, the third button closest to your LED is the mode button. Now, the little waves are your massage or stimulation mode. Once we press that, it will turn our pump into activation mode. So it will start the suction. If we want to change over to the the expression mode, which is this droplet, then we simply just tap the mode button. And again, depending on what mode we're in, and it flashing means that we can change our suction levels up. Now in your stimulation mode, there are 7 different suction strengths you can choose from. So the pump itself is up to 300 millimeters of mercury suction strength, but what these suction levels are is basically determines how strong those pulls are going to be. So my recommendation is to start on a lower suction level, a 2 or a 3, and then work your way up until you find something that feels comfortable. You don't want to start on a 7 and feel your nipple get ripped off. Start low, work your way up, because with pumping, it's not just suction strength that will determine our output. A lot of it comes down to our comfort level as well. So if we're really uncomfortable while we're pumping, just imagine your body is seizing up. It's not going to produce the output that you're expecting. You want to be comfortable and relaxed when we are pumping. So making sure that it's not pulling too strong is a big factor. And then, as I said, you can switch over to the expression mode. So just the two differences between stimulation and expression. If you're completely new to pumping, stimulation is those shorter suctions for initiating your letdown, and then the expression are the longer, deeper pulls for drawing out your breast milk. Now, if you want to pause your pumping, you simply tap the power mode. Then the only other thing that you might notice is you have a light. Now, this is for getting the correct nipple alignment, very beneficial at nighttime. However, if you do not want to have this on, you can simply double press your power mode. Now, it's not going to do it for me. Sorry, not your power, your mode button. That's probably why it's not working. Double press your mode button and it will turn your light off. Okay, so that is the settings and controls on your pump. But as I mentioned, this also has app integration, which you'll probably know if you have been researching your pump. Now, one of the biggest things, because this got me, is make sure you are using the Eufy app, not the Eufy Baby app. So if you previously had the E20, the S1 Pro, and were using the Eufy Baby app, your pump will not connect. The S2 Pro does not connect to Eufy Baby. Make sure you are in the Eufy app itself. They are very different. All right, so that aside, go through the process to connect it. You can do that by, let me pull this in. Up the top, there's a plus button to add a device. Click that and then go through the steps. It's quite straightforward. Once you have that and you want to activate your pump, find where your pump is. So this is the S2 Pro. You can sync them if you choose to. It has a little walkthrough. I've only got the one on at the moment. I'm not going to bother with the others. But if you want to sync both your pumps, you can. It will tell you whether it's left or right. And then you can start choosing what settings you would like. So you have through here a bunch that you can choose from. There's max rhythm. These are their professional modes, standard, gentle, natural. I wouldn't give too much to what they are talking about in who this is for. Find a pattern or a rhythm that really works best for you, and you're going to have to do a trial, test them out to see what your body best responds to, because when it comes to pumping and the different settings, it's not a one size fits all. Some people respond better to this stimulation, expression for the multiple letdowns. Some people need a more gentle type rhythm. Some people honestly go great with just the initial letdown and then be in expression mode for the rest of it. What I do love about Eufy though is that they have a DIY. So you can come in here and create your own mode or your own rhythm. So if I want to click that, and then I can give it all the names, and then I can go through, and create the second rhythm to my pattern. So do I want stimulation or expression or a mixed? You can go through, have a play. You can create your own, which I really do love because this gives you the full customization. For this though, I'm just going to click the max so we can go through the process. Then you can also adjust your suction up or down. really, really love within this app that you can choose your speed cycle settings. So if we talk about your suction levels, how strong those pulls are, your speed cycle is how fast those are. Now, some people respond to the faster cycles like what we see with stimulation mode. Some people respond better to a slow, more gentle speed. So again, you're going to have a play, see what best your body responds to. I recommend in the early days keeping a bit of a journal, what settings you have, how your body responds, what's your output, and then you can gauge what you want to adjust. Don't make huge adjustments, slowly ramp up or down till you find what works. Then you have the options for your heating. Again, you can adjust your temperatures, you can adjust your timing for it. These do automatically switch off. The heating will switch off after 10 minutes. But again, you can turn it on and off. You then have your massage. Now, the cool thing with massage, now I'm going to turn this on to show you because this is really unique to the Eufy S2 Pro. These pads here. Now, this is your massage. Let's turn it on, turn our pump on. I'm going to take this off because you get a better visual. You can see these are vibrating. So when we talk massage, really, they're vibration pads, and their job is to help loosen the milk in your milk ducts, provide a more comfortable experience while you're pumping. Now, within the app, you can change how intense these vibrations are, how long you want to have your vibrations for, but you can also change what patterns these are in. So this at the moment has a clockwise, top and bottom, all the points together. You can go through top and then bottom, left, right. It goes through, you can do clockwise. Let's start. No, it doesn't want to for me. But then you can also, there you go. You can also DIY, create your own patterns. So having this customization is one of the things I do really love about the S2 Pro. I think having all these features really helps you to tailor your pump to best suit you and your body. Okay, so once we've set what we want, you can turn also your nipple light on and off. You can then pause your pump. You can turn your pump on and off. So it gives you that full discretion. And that is the app. So let's turn this off. Once we're done our session, it will also record. It does also come with a automatic tracking, so that does become useful as well. Okay, so before we dive into our pumping, we now understand all of our settings. We have our correct flange fit. We're going to want to clean our pump before we use it and make sure that it is nice and sterile. So we're going to pull all our pump parts apart. We're going to wash them in warm soapy water, and then to sterilize, we can use the boiling method where we put the parts that come in contact with breast milk into boiling water and let them boil for 5 minutes. Otherwise, we can also use a sterilizer that is suitable for this pump. So the one part that does not come in contact with or does not need to be cleaned is your pump motor. If you submerge this in water, you are going to damage your pump, probably going to need to end up replacing it. So we don't want to be doing that. You cannot put these parts into a microwave for microwave sterilization. You can, however, if you want to clean your parts, pop them in the top rack of the dishwasher and then sterilize them after. So how often do we need to clean our pump parts? After every use, we're going to want to wash them. And then once every 24 hours, we're going to want to sterilize. There is, however, the fridge hack that we can use. So if you are going to be pumping multiple times a day and we're going to want to save on all this washing, simply take your pump motor apart. We're going to take our collection container and our flange, pop that in so it's a single unit, pop it into a clean container that's put aside specific for our pump, or into a Ziploc bag, place it into the fridge straight away, and then we can pull that out and use it for our next pumping session. Now, if you are using the fridge hack, I'll attach to the video. There are a few tips and tricks. We don't want to pull our pump apart. We don't want to be washing it. I'll attach that video. Okay, so pump is clean and sterilized for our very first use. Our hands are nice and clean and washed. We're going to take our pump. Now, imagine my finger is the nipple. We're going to want to lean slightly forward and make sure we are lifting up and making sure our nipple is aligned nice and centrally. So when we are pumping, we want our nipple to be moving in and out nice and freely. So if we don't have the correct alignment, it's going to rub on the edges. That's going to cause friction, going to cause pain, potentially damage. So make sure it's lined nice and centrally. So we lean forward, make sure you've got your breast up and in. There is quite a wide and deep flange tunnel angle for this. So if you are somebody that is flat-chested, you may find this difficult to get the correct fit, because you're going to essentially need enough tissue to bring it up and make sure that your nipple is up and aligned centrally. But once you have that, we're then going to want to make sure we have this nice and securely fitted in a good quality pumping bra. Now, I say good quality because given that this is quite a wide, deep flange angle, it's not going to be as forgiving as some of the other wearables. We really do need to have a good quality wearable pumping bra to make sure this is held in place. Okay, so we have it nice and in place. We're then going to run through our pumping session, start on the stimulation, then to expression. There are those preset modes. I recommend starting on those. And then having that trial and error. Don't forget my tip around starting low on your levels and then working your way up. Once we have done our pumping session, we're going to want to lean forward so any of the breast milk that's in the flange tunnel is going to drip down into our collection container and not back out through the flange. Then we are going to want to use a finger to break the seal. You do not want to just rip this off because it will rip your nipple off with it. So we're going to break the seal, remove the pump from our breast, and then it has a nice flat base so it will sit solid while you are removing the other one. Then we're going to want to take the pump motor and flange off. We're going to then take off the pouring spout and then pour our breast milk into our storage container. You cannot store your breast milk in your pump. If you're using the fridge hack, remember to take off your flange, pop that into the fridge. Pump motor does not go into the fridge. Moisture again will affect your pump. Then if you're not using the fridge hack, you can wash your pump parts, sterilize if needed. And then finally, we will have our pump ready to use for our next time. But we also want to make sure that it is charged properly, because there's nothing worse than going to use your pump and it's out of battery. Now, you do have your rechargeable carry case with your Eufy S2 Pro. Now, it's a little bit misleading on the website that it says it's up to 7 days of use. Just keep in mind, their recommendation for 7 days of use is 3 20-minute sessions a day. So 1 hour of usage a day. If you are using your pump more than that, you'll likely have to recharge your carry case sooner rather than later. It won't last that 7 days. The pump itself should last up to 2 hours off a single charge. So that is a single charge with your wall plug or fully charged off your unit. If we're going to be using our rechargeable carry case, it simply slots in. Wait until your light is flashing. That means that it is then recharging. If you want to know if your carry case has charge to it, you can see your battery output on the side here. You'll notice here you've got a USB-C in your kit. You will have your USB-C charging port that you can use. If you prefer to charge the pump itself, you also, without the carry case, you do have a magnetic charging for your USB. This simply sits at the base. It's a Y, so you can do both pumps at the same time. You simply hover that over and then pop it in, and then plug it in and it will start charging your pump. I recommend that if you've got the carry case that you tend to store it in here. It's what it's made for. Your pump then will be charged, just making sure that you are checking your charging or how charged your carry case is. All right, so that is your Eufy S2 Pro. I think the only other thing to consider is changing out your parts and how often your pump will need regular maintenance. Things like your duckbill valve and your diaphragm, depending on your use, will need to be replaced every 1 to 3 months, especially your duckbill valve. This does a lot of the heavy lifting with our pump. If you start to see a loss of suction or milk leaks, this is the one that you normally will go to replace first. Then you have your diaphragm. Now this shouldn't need replacing as often, but I have a feeling that you might find that this starts to tear a little bit. So keep that in mind. Again, any loss of suction, change out your diaphragm. Should be 1 to 3 months, but you might get a little bit longer. Any deep scratches on your collection container, if you drop it and get a crack, you are going to need to replace it, but otherwise that should be fine. Your flange. Now, these are actually really quite durable. I like that you've got the hard plastic here. So these should last quite a long time. You might find 6 to 12 months before you need to replace this. But again, if you notice any scratches or any damage, if it's not clipping in properly, that's the time to replace it. The scratches are going to harbor any bacteria. So again, we're really trying to make sure that our breast milk is as clean and sterile for our baby as possible. All right. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask and I'll do my very best to answer. If you've found this helpful at all, please give it a thumbs up. That really does help this get seen by more pumping mums. And if you want more videos like this, hit that subscribe. Cheers.